According to reports, NVIDIA has reached an all-cash agreement to purchase Groq, a manufacturer of high-performance AI accelerator chips, for $20 billion. The deal came together swiftly, only months after Groq raised $750 million at a valuation of roughly $6.9 billion according to the story, which quotes Alex Davis, CEO of Disruptive and a longtime supporter of the firm. Since its establishment in 2016, Disruptive has contributed over $500 million to the business. Investors from BlackRock, Neuberger Berman, Samsung, Cisco, Altimeter, and 1789 Capital were among those attracted to the most recent fundraising round. According to Davis, Groq is anticipated to inform investors about the agreement later on Wednesday. Although Groq's assets are part of the deal, its early-stage cloud business is not. Former engineers of Google's Tensor Processing Unit, or TPU, a processor intended to rival NVIDIA in artificial intelligence tasks, formed the firm. Should the transaction go through, it would be NVIDIA's biggest acquisition to yet, highlighting the company's efforts to solidify its position in cutting-edge AI hardware. The chipmaker's most recent licensing agreement is reminiscent to one that was completed only 3 months prior, supporting the idea that decentralized AI infrastructure might be the only way to counteract NVIDIA's increasing power. The acquisition closed 3 months after Groq secured $750 million at a valuation of $6.9 billion, which included partners Donald Trump Jr., Samsung, Cisco, and BlackRock. Groq presented the deal as a non-exclusive license agreement, but NVIDIA is purchasing all of the company's assets, with the exception of its cloud computing division. Along with President Sunny Madra and other senior officials, Groq CEO Jonathan Ross, a former Google developer who contributed to the development of the search engine giant's Tensor Processing Unit, will join NVIDIA. Simon Edwards, the startup's new chief executive, will continue to run it independently. The Groq deal is in line with a trend that NVIDIA started 3 months ago. In September, the business licensed the startup's technology and paid more than $900 million to hire the CEO and staff of Infabrica. Both agreements skirt the antitrust scrutiny that prevented NVIDIA's $40 billion bid for ARM Holdings in 2022 by using licensing arrangements as opposed to outright purchases. The Kobesi letter provided a direct summary of NVIDIA's strategy. Before you can compete with us, we will purchase you. Groq claims that their language processing unit may achieve up to 10 times more energy efficiency by using on-chip SRAM instead of external DRAM. This architecture restricts model size but excels at real-time inference. NVIDIA may now investigate this trade-off inside its larger ecosystem. The timing is noteworthy. Google recently released Gemini 3, which was trained only on TPUs, to the top of benchmark rankings and introduced its 7th-generation TPU, dubbed Ironwood. On X, NVIDIA replied, "We're thrilled about Google's achievement. As the only platform that supports all AI models, NVIDIA is a generation ahead of the industry. It is obvious that competitive pressure is increasing when incumbents begin to make such reassuring assurances. Consequences for AI that is decentralized." The agreement strengthens the argument behind decentralized AI computing initiatives, even though it has no direct effect on cryptocurrency markets. Alternatives to centralized AI infrastructure are marketed by websites such as io.net. Individuals can contribute their own GPU power to a network, whether it is data centers or their own laptop, and receive just compensation for it through tokenomics. Chief Growth Officer Jack Collier of io.net told Being Crypto, "According to the platform, major cost savings have been realized by enterprise clients such as UC Berkeley and Leonardo.ai. But there is still a significant disconnect between narrative and reality. NVIDIA's acquisition of Groq's low-latency technology increases its technological advantage and makes it more difficult for competitors to provide performance that is comparable. The deal also calls into question the development of autonomous AI chips. Similar pressure might eventually be applied on Cerebras Systems, another NVIDIA rival getting ready for an IPO. It remains to be seen if it can maintain its independence or give in to NVIDIA's financial pressure.
First of all, you have called 2026 an inflection point for the AI revolution. Take me inside that inflection. What's going to happen next year that hasn't happened this year?
I think it's really about monetization. I mean, monetization is going to be the key, specifically on the software side. We've seen Palantir, but I think it's ultimately Snowflake, MongoDB, and others. Look, this is now, it's the prove it moment. But I believe investors are actually underestimating the scale and scope of this AI revolution playing out, which is why we're so bullish. Again, it's year 3 of an 8 to 10 year bull market. It's a 1996 moment, not a 1999, 2000 bubble moment.
Well, Dan, let's talk about what you expect to see happen here. You say tech stocks are going to rise more than 20% in 2026. That is double digits, 20% here. Is that driven by an earnings reality, Dan, or is that just belief that AI monetization is finally going to show up in some of the balance sheets of these big names?
I think it's a combination. I think, look, right now investors are underestimating tech earnings. I think 15, 20%, just even going into the year. And I think as we see demand and supply continuing to increase, remember, only 3% of U.S. companies have gone down the AI path. So as this accelerates, and it accelerates globally, because for the first time 30 years, U.S. is ahead of China when it comes to tech, clearly behind on energy. And I think it's going to play out across software, cybersecurity, chips. You look at Micron, you look at the memory players, SanDisk, what's happened with SK in Korea. This is now the second, third, fourth derivatives of AI playing out. And like we've said, I mean, it is a fourth industrial revolution. We talk about the AI party, started at 9 p.m. It's now 10:30 p.m. That party goes to 4 a.m.
Dan, JP Young here. We were speaking to Ed Yardeni yesterday about what his outlook is for the broader markets, and says that there should be possibly is a warranted rotation from the Mag 7 to what he called the impressive 493. But I'm wondering if this also means perhaps a rotation away from the Mag 7 towards the other parts of the tech space. Do you think that is a perhaps plausible thing to expect in 2026, and perhaps a warranted thing to start looking at other parts of the tech space outside of the Mag 7 that some might say might be a little bit too crowded despite all of the optimism and enthusiasm around it?
Yeah, look, it's a great point. Look, it starts with the Mag 7 because we're talking about, call it almost $600 billion of CapEx next year when we think about big tech. But it's about the multiplier, the ripple effect. For every dollar spent on a NVIDIA chip, there's an $8, $10 multiplier across the rest of tech. That's why you own, I mean, we have the IVS AI30, Huon Software, cybersecurity, names CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, Nebius, CoreWeave, on some of the neo clouds. I think now it spreads. And also, you're going to see a lot of acquisitions. You talk about the Google acquisition. This is just the start. It's get the popcorn out moment. You are going to see a massive wave of consolidation in tech.
Yeah, Dan, I wonder, though, I think unlike 5G, we've seen that AI has proven that it will be transformative, not just for markets, but how various sectors do business. But I think the skeptics might point out that maybe we've gotten a little too ahead of ourselves in terms of valuations, perhaps a little too frothy, and maybe shifting from fifth gear to fourth gear on the valuation of some of these stocks might be warranted at the moment. What do you say to some of the skeptics that think that maybe we need to perhaps just shift down a gear with regards to where valuations have gone so far?
Yeah, and I almost think you shift up, right? I mean, to some extent, my view, think about robotics, autonomous. The AI use, if you my AI revolution hasn't even started on the consumer side. Enterprise, we've just scratched the surface. So I think it's one where you're going to have white knuckle moments. Think about 2025, Deep Sea, Liberation Day, U.S., China, and other issues, circular finance, and you'll have those. But the reality is, I think this is going to continue to be a pop the champagne moment for tech stocks because now the monetization plays out. And I think investors are underestimating what that's going to look like in terms of the trillions of dollars being spent.
Daniel, which part of the piece stood out to you as the most important for the market for Intel investors?
Well, I think the part that came out about NVIDIA was the most interesting part. Now, the comment about being, not strategic enough that they would not let it fail, I tend to disagree with that, Leslie. I believe that the $10 billion investment from the U.S. government, that the $5 billion that came in from NVIDIA, that the multi-billions that came in from ARM and SoftBank are because we are in this all hands on deck moment for AI, and Intel being able to expand capacity, maybe not replace TSMC, but to be able to offer capacity in addition to TSMC is going to be critical because we simply cannot produce enough chips. But one of the things that also was very interesting was this idea that they tested 18A and it didn't work. This is a little bit of a story that had already come out. And Lip Bhutan, who I've talked to many times about this, has more or less told the market this for months, that 18A was going to be the internal node, that they were going to ramp up some of their own Intel products on 18A, but really 14A. This is the next node, coming 27 for risk, 28 for production. This is the one where it's going to be the rubber meeting the road for companies like NVIDIA, Apple, or others that are considering building more with Intel.
So that's what Deirdre mentioned earlier, was this idea that just the fact that Intel was even, invited to the party here for 18A is noteworthy and actually a positive development. I'm curious what you make of that, given the interconnectivity with the government now. Was it invited, just because of its relationship? Do you see any kind of favoritism or benefit that they're already starting to garner given this relationship?
Yeah, so one of the things that's really important for investors to know is that every one of these new nodes, this could be Intel, this could be Samsung, this could be TSMC, most of the fabless, Broadcoms and NVIDIAs, AMDs, they're all going to test these. There's different reasons for why they're doing that, but one, as I mentioned, just this overall capacity strain on the market. They're all going to be looking at these different options. Of course, if these different nodes scale and offer better performance, maybe better efficiency, this could be a reason to turn in the direction of a different provider. We know TSMC has been incredibly successful, that their moat is really deep, and that the different fabless companies, the ones I've mentioned, have all stuck with TSMC, not just because they're available and they can deliver. They'll pay more for TSMC because of the fact that it's so predictable, it's so consistent. But we've never had a constraint like this before. We've never been in a situation where we simply can't build enough. So we're hearing about Google turning potentially to Samsung. We're seeing Broadcom, NVIDIA, we bet that AMD, Qualcomm, others, all looking at Intel, because as this AI trend continues, we're going to need every chip that can be produced. So we really should want Intel to succeed. And I believe that U.S. government investment, to your point earlier, was all about making sure that the U.S. does succeed. The policy is really in place for a U.S.-led, U.S. manufacturer of leading-edge chips.
Yeah, obviously there's some historical stickiness in terms of a manufacturing partner, but when you can't produce enough fast enough, that's going to change the game. I see here that you have some 2026 predictions, broadly speaking, for the space. What do you think is most likely for the new year?
Yeah, we have a few of them, but one that we definitely think is we feel that Amazon and Meta trailed significantly some of its other names. And we think that some of the reasons they trailed, the bet that Meta has made on all these talent, we think that talent's going to come through next year. A lot of people thought after Mark went on that spending spree, brought all those people in from different research labs for AI, that was going to create more of an immediate result. The ticker, it trailed all year. We think next year it's going to do a lot better. And we also think Amazon did a good job this year catching up. We felt that they were a little slow ramping their NVIDIA. But we think that now that they've made those investments, they launched Project Rainier, they've also built their own silicon and are starting to ramp that up. We think they're going to be able to take advantage of their deep position as the largest hyperscale cloud. And I'll give you one other fun one, Leslie, is I think there'll be $2 trillion IPOs next year. It's going to be Elon and Sam. And I think that Elon is going to win out for the biggest IPO in history. And I think that's going to be another frustrating point for Sam Altman, but it just seems that's the story with those two.
Or so. Even while everything was thrown at the market throughout the year, including Liberation Day, we made it through. At this point now, some folks are even saying, hey, S&P 7,000 or Santa Claus rally. What do you think, Mark?
I am in the camp that we are headed above 7,000. So we have, Fed cuts more on the way. We've already had some this year. Economy's growing at 3%. Earnings growth looks like it's going to be in the mid-teens next year for the S&P 500. So everything's looking pretty good. And on a typical year, right, it's about 75% chance we're going to get that Santa Claus rally. And this year, I think it's going to be one of them.
So what are some of the catalysts for Santa Claus rally, and does that continue into 2026?
Yeah, I think it really has to do with the fundamentals of the market. So again, we have solid earnings growth. We have an economy that's going really well. We have deregulation coming into next year. We have easier monetary policy. So not only is the Fed lowering rates, but they're also buying securities. So pushing more liquidity out of the markets, and definitely kind of driving risk on assets. So that's the outlook, at least coming into 2026, and it looks pretty good.
When we talk about AI, are you buying dips thinking there's opportunity, or do you see that as some warning sign?
I do not see it as a warning sign. So I am buying dips. There are some great companies out there on sale. NVIDIA is off about 12% or so. Broadcom's off about 20%. There's some really great values out there. In the past few weeks, there's been lots of talk about the financing associated with the AI build out, but I think that's going to eventually die down, and I think this trade resumes its upward trend.
Understood. So if the trade has an upward trend, how do people capitalize on the upside opportunities? What's your advice?
Well, my advice would be to look for names that are in an uptrend, but have been pulled back. They're solid quality companies. So when you're looking at names, you can look at names like I said, the big AI juggernaut, NVIDIA. It's looking pretty good. It's trading at about 26 or so times earnings. That's pretty cheap on a historical basis with a company that's obviously very impressive. It continues to put out chips for that AI build out. I also like Broadcom. So again, it's custom chip maker, custom silicon. It had a great report and it got smacked down. So it's down 20% from its high. So again, I would be looking mainly at companies that are quality companies, but have been kind of smacked down in this recent tech off trade, if you will.